Hello, hello, welcome to another video, and the Halo universe could have looked very different. So, with the explosive release of Helldivers 2, the hype it has, how crazy it's going on Twitter and everything else, I'll be honest, I'm enjoying it a lot, and that's only when I actually get in the game. Throughout all of this absolute crazy hype and crazy blow up of Helldivers 2, a little story that got picked up that was tweeted by I forget how high up he was, but it's an ex-developer like person, relatively higher up I think, at 343, had tweeted and replied to a tweet and such that basically through his time over probably the last 10 years he might have sent the tweet. I can't look at the tweet. I'm gonna put it on the screen though, obviously. That over the last 10 years, or per se 15 years, that they had at least 25 to 30 different ideas for games pitched. They were, not seen through, I'll say. And my first instinct for that and hearing it is that it's probably true in a way, I'll say. Do I think they had 30 legit ideas for games that all got, basically... Ooh, nice shot. That they're basically told, like, no, we don't want to do that, go to hell. No, I imagine that a large majority of them were just games that were kind of brainstormed ideas. Kind of ideas that were more said just, like, in passing, versus having, like, legit concrete ideas that were just kind of shot down. And my thought process for that is simply just that if you are in control of Halo, like how 343 is, and I'm sure all different gaming franchises have this to a certain degree, that while working on, let's say, the main Halo game or the main game in their series, they probably get different ideas, different little theories, everything like that, that they, kind of brainstorm and be like, oh, that could be pretty cool in our universe if we make a game like this. And I also saw people saying on Twitter that the idea of having a game like Helldivers 2 was pitched to be like a ODST type of game. I haven't seen any tweets from like the developer himself or anything like that claiming this. It was just a tweet in passing, I guess. And while I think like I'll take that with a grain of salt, like, yeah, of course, as soon as this game that's doing super well, you're gonna just claim that, oh, we actually had this idea before with our game. It would seem like it would fit Halo, especially with the ODSTs. Being the ODSTs are like, they're not Spartans, so they're going to get shit kicked, like Helldivers get shit kicked every now and then. They'd have the enemy types already in place with Brutes and Covenant. Like, it all has some sense to it. But just the fact that, like, people say, I've thought about this, I'm sure a lot of Halo fans have thought about this, that the Halo universe itself is so vast, it's so, like, there's so much going on all the time in it. What the fuck was I stuck on? There's so many different genres of games that they could make within the Halo universe that doesn't break canon, or at least doesn't destroy canon, I guess I'll say. Like, you could have some horror type games where it's like an ODST by himself, have like a kind of survival-like game. You could do stuff with as if you're a civilian and you're trying to hide from Covenant, stuff like that. Like, just the sheer amount of genres that Halo has not even attempted to touch base with, it feels like they could have done. MMO, you could. The universe is so expansive and stuff, I'm sure they could make it work. And the crazy thing to me is, like, people will detract from this and be like, oh, 343 is only so big. Like, there's only so much I could do. The main Halo game, of the mainline series, I'm sure it takes a ton of work. It takes a ton of manpower. So I wouldn't want to take stuff away from that necessarily. And they also have Halo Wars, which, I'm sure also takes a lot to make. There's Halo Wars games I've never been into again, but people seem to say that the games are really, like, well made and fun and stuff like that when you're into that type of game, which is great. I just think that looking back, obviously hindsight 2020, when you compare Halo to something like Call of Duty, which were the two biggest games going in like the late 2000s, I guess, right? But if you look at Call of Duty now, it's still like the biggest game in the world, basically. Year in, year out still. It still releases every year. It does Now, to me, like, it's got to the point, it feels like just absolute junk food of a video game. How did I die there? Where, like, you're playing, but it's not, like... I don't know, you don't get that feeling of fulfillment as much. Me, personally, playing Call of Duty. It just feels like you're playing it because it's crisp, it feels fun, it feels good, it's like doing drugs. You know after the fact you probably shouldn't have done it. Or you know, like, there's other things you probably should have done. Activision knew what Call of Duty was. They knew what they had on their hands. They knew, literally, to grow, it was just going to have to get bigger and bigger and bigger, which it has. They started adding so much to the pure just development of Call of Duty. The amount of studios that are currently working on a Call of Duty game is just asinine. But even with Call of Duty, like, I'm sure there's different games that they could have dabbled more into. If you think about it, once they went into Battle Royales, when it blew up the second time, Call of Duty went through its lull, and then it innovated, tried something new. It worked, and then they just threw a bunch of studios to do it. Looking back and everything, it feels crazy that Microsoft had Halo. Halo was a fucking powerhouse during its heyday. I'm sure they knew they were losing Bungie. They're making 343 ready to take the mantle. And knowing all that and everything, they still just assumed that 343 was going to be able to, you know, make Halo, keep it how it is, and kind of not innovate in a way. Especially looking back at, like, Halo 4 and stuff. That, like, obviously now it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, they didn't decide to innovate. They just started to copy Call of Duties. And then it just kind of went stagnant, and Halo 4 and 5 weren't received nearly as well as, you know, the old games were. But even with Halo Infinite's release and how bad the development turned out to, you know, be going and stuff, obviously they didn't expect that. You'd think that they would have kept pumping resources into Halo to, you know, help it out. But even now, like, with these other games and the other game ideas, like, it's crazy to think that Microsoft never had that idea of, like, you know what, let's give them the resources and let's have them create some other game. Like, Halo Wars like, it did well. It was a spin-off. Try something else, too. Rather than just keep hammering the same game and taking stuff from other games like Halo 4 seemed to do. Fuck it. Swing for the fences a little bit there. Let a different developing group that has an idea for Halo, or even an idea that 343 had within. Let someone in that group be the lead. Let them lead a different group of developers and try and make some fun games and try to, you know, branch out even little bits. Obviously, I don't think there should be some crazy BS Halo game, you know, dating sim or something stupid like that. No one wants that. I mean, unless you do, then I don't know what to really say to you. But games that, you know, that would fit. And I'm sure 343 people and developers and everything, whenever they had game ideas, I'm assuming that it was in the Halo sphere of, like, it would make sense. So, and just seeing that they pitched this many games, and to think, like, we might have gotten, I don't even know. Like, honestly, like, would Spartan Assault count? Is that called Spartan Assault? I never played any of those. I think there was 2 Halo games that were like that I just never played. But it's funny, too, thinking now of, like, when Halo Infinite came out and a lot of people were against the idea of Halo having a BR. I don't think if Halo had a BR, it would save the game or anything crazy like that. Overall, I don't think it would have been a bad idea now, looking back also again at, like, if Halo Infinite had a second developer, or if it was even not even just Halo Infinite, if it was a different Halo game, like how Warzone was released, I think it could have done a lot better. And if they gave it to a different developer that Microsoft just kind of has in their back pocket, you know, and just were like, listen, this is what needs to be in the game. This is how the engine, everything with Halo Infinite, make a BR with this. And just let's see how it goes. We'll play test it. If we really hate it, if it doesn't work, stuff like that, fine, is what it is. Didn't work, we'll never release it. If it did work and it was fun, boom, free to play, all the microtransactions you fucking want in that game. And then you just slowly build the, you know, developing group, like how Call of Duty is in that way, where it's like, yeah, there's more and more, and they're just adding on and on and on. And if you're producing different gaming experiences, I think overall that would help the Halo franchise, the Halo IP, everything like that. Obviously, I wouldn't want the multiplayer to be, like, neglected how in ways Call of Duty's multiplayer is. But if they kept the main 343 people on Halo Infinite on the campaign, because the campaign experience with Halo's, you know, it's a very key part of it. Have that with the multiplayer. Have it how it is always. You know, have Forge in it, make the Halo main experience the Halo experience. And they could have had so many branching parts. I'm sure that some of the games that they would have pitched were fucking terrible. Let's be honest. Just because you say you pitched Helldivers 2 and Halo with ODSTs doesn't mean you actually did, or doesn't mean that all the systems that are in Helldivers 2 wouldn't have been in Halo. And I'm sure that there was other games they pitched that could have been really good. And I'm sure most of them would have been really bad. I just think if they added so much more resources to 343, where they would have all these different branches to work on specific things within Halo that wasn't the main Halo experience, it could have just slowly grown this to be even bigger than what it was. Hopefully Halo does expand its universe to different ideas, and they give they give 343 the resources to be innovative. You know, like, that's the crazy thing, is like Halo, it has innovated in some ways, but it's also been stagnant in a lot of other ways. But that's all I got on this whole topic today. Let me know in the comments what you think would have been a really cool game on Halo, like the Halo universe, kind of stuff like that, type of genre. What you think if Helldivers 2 was like a Halo game and it was ODSTs with Covenant or Brutes and all that crazy shit. But be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoy. Consider subscribing. Helps the channel out a bunch. I'll be posting on Friday. I'm going to be posting Helldivers 2, I believe. If I can play the game, at least, I should say. But that's going to do it for me. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.